What is up, my peepholes? This is your guy, Kalai, and welcome back to Budget Buys. Now, I want to start off by saying sorry for the lack of videos recently, but I do have a decent enough excuse, because at the start of last month, I managed to get my hands on a laser engraver for dirt cheap, and I may or may not have gotten a little obsessed with it. Fortunately, that did lead to a few projects that I'll be sharing with you later on, but for now, let's talk about this little guy. This is the color-changing LED gaming mouse from U Youse, and I picked it up earlier this week at my local Five Below. Now what's interesting is that this is not the first time that this specific model of mouse has appeared in the store, and that's kind of funny because they're well known for discontinuing something the moment it sells out. But no, I actually saw reviews of this dating back to December of last year, but don't worry, I haven't actually watched those, so everything you're going to be getting is my own opinion. Now, I want to break down what this box says, but I do need the mouse to do it, so I'm going to transition and bring that little sucker in. Alright, I have the mouse, I have the box flipped over, and I have a set of bullet points that I can use to help grade this mouse. Let's start off with plug and play. Apparently it's supposed to be quick and easy to use, no need to install extra drivers or software, simply plug and play. I'll give it a pass there. I've plugged this into multiple computers that I own and I've had zero issues. Though admittedly, I have not used every single operating system it is supposedly compatible with, which include Windows 10, 8, 7, Vista, XP, Mac OS, and Linux. However, it does seem to be using generic mouse drivers, so I will give it the benefit of the doubt there. Next, on ergonomic design, fits naturally in your hand with no cramping after extended gaming or work sessions. Wired mouse with 1200 DPI setting. Yeah, I will once again give it points there because it's not the most uncomfortable mouse that I've ever used, and it does seem to have 1200 DPI resolution. Admittedly, that is not adjustable, but I'll talk more about that later. Last but not least, under comfortable grip, which is apparently different from ergonomic design, who knew? Made of high-quality ABS material, this gaming mouse has an ergonomic shape with textured grip, appropriate weight for comfortable grip. Their wording, not mine. So, about that material. It might be ABS, but it feels a little thin. If you squeeze, it will flex. If you are prone to rage gaming, you might snap it just in a fit of anger. Or, if you slam the mouse down, it won't survive. Or, worst case scenario, you're the kind of person who slams their fist down on their desk either next to or on top of the mouse. It's gonna die. It is very flexible. In fact, if I squeeze here, you can watch those little buttons right there. Squeeze, squeeze. It will not survive. So it might be ABS, but it is definitely not high impact ABS. In fact, speaking of ABS, even the scroll wheel is made out of cheap plastic. This is the nastiest feeling scroll wheel that I've ever come across. And let's see if you can hear it. If you could hear that, that's the scroll wheel grinding. Because it's not made for this design of shell, which I will talk more about later. Back on topic, textured grip. No. This is basically just matte plastic, and while that does leave a slight texture, I'm going to say you are fudging your definition of textured grip to make this count. And appropriate weight for comfortable grip. No. This thing is feather light. It feels like if you have a stiff breeze next to your desk, it's going flying, so don't use a desk fan. In fact, while you might like a light mouse for your gaming style, I'm going to go ahead and say that that is not the standard opinion because I've noticed something happening recently even with the cheapest of gaming mice. Let me go ahead and move this out of the way and bring in an old mouse of mine, the Logitech G5. And I bring this one up because it does something that a lot of the sub $20 gaming mice are doing these days, and that is weight plates. If I flip this over and just press that button there, I've got a tray of adjustable weights. ranging from 1.7 grams to 4.5 grams. I can really tweak the weight of this little guy. In fact, it feels like this plate of weights weighs more than this mouse. In fact, I'm going to say that's at least 2 times the weight. Let me just be silly. If I can get those 4.5s out of there. I haven't taken these out in years, so they're not going to move that easily, but haha, toothpick. This is still heavier than that mouse. So, yeah, I'm not going to give it points for appropriate weight. Let's just put it that way. Something else I want to talk about in regard to this mouse is the fact that, like many other things at Five Below, it is an imitation of an existing product. In this case, it's a generic gaming mouse that you see come out of a lot of different Chinese manufacturers, ranging in price from $8 to $13. Seems to average at about $10 with free shipping. And I want to focus on the Lingyi M102. Now, they all use the same shell, and this is an angle-for-angle reproduction, including these 3 little vent holes that do nothing. And here's the funny part. On every one of those gaming mice, this side panel here is actually silver. I want to say it's silver-colored plastic, though it might be aluminum or white metal, no telling. But the bolts that are done in the plastic here are actually real bolts on the proper mice. So that's interesting. Also, each and every one of them have additional buttons here, which by default are programmed to forward and back on your browser, though you can assign them to something in-game. And the reason I brought up the M102 is the fact that you can actually program macros to those buttons using software provided. Also, each one of those mice has adjustable DPI. Instead of just being stuck at 1200 DPI, you can hit a button right here on the mouse that changes it between 4 different settings. And by changing that, you also change the color of the lights on the mouse. Though, that's another big difference. For the M102 and similar mice, you only get 4 colors. Whereas, if you've noticed here, let me just hit the master light switch, this does indeed transition between different colors. Oh, and if you're wondering why it's flashing, that's because they didn't put any kind of opaque guard behind the laser prism, so you're going to see that flash through the mouse when it starts searching for a surface or when you start moving it. So there's that. Anyway, you do get more colors with this little guy right here, so points there. However, if you go for a $20 wireless mouse that uses this exact same shell, you do get the color rotation with all of the other features mentioned previously. So you're not limited to 4 colors if you go for $20, but if you go for 10, you are. Oh, and this shell is so popular in the generic gaming mouse circuit that you can get Overwatch-themed mice using this shell. I'm going to go ahead and guess that they're not officially licensed, but the fact of the matter is, you can get them. So there's that. And I think that's pretty much all of the tearing into this mouse that I'm going to do. So I think it's time to render a verdict. And believe it or not, despite all of the ripping into this mouse I did previously, my verdict is actually going to be positive. If only just, because while I hesitate to call this a gaming mouse, the fact of the matter remains that it is still a mouse. And if I wanted to get a replacement mouse for my PC anywhere nearby, I am looking at well over $5, and all of those are going to be lacking in the color-changing LED department. I mean, unless I got lucky at a thrift store and picked up a Razer Death Adder Chroma for $4, but what are the odds of that happening, right? Right. But silliness with thrifting aside, because we all know my luck is insane there, I don't overall hate this mouse except for the scroll wheel that can just go burn in a dumpster fire for all I care. But yeah, $5, color changing LED mouse. Don't expect it to be well weighted and great for gaming, but do expect it to be a usable mouse with color changing LEDs for a decent price. If you want to get a color changing gaming mouse for a good price, I suggest checking online and having a budget of $10 or more. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, until next time, this is your guy Cly, signing off.